Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Peteman Reviews. Today we have the Generations version of the G1 Transformer Scourge. As you can see, they've slightly redesigned the way Scourge looks. So while he's still a sweep, a member of the Seekers, he isn't like the hovercraft he was before. He's more of a stealth bomber style craft. As you can see, he still retains the hairdryer implement at the back here. However, the whole area transforms into much more of a stealth bomber style craft with the two jets here. So in terms of the alt mode, it is considerably more effective than the original hovercraft design. In the original hovercraft design, it kind of worked just about, but it did feel a little bit unfinished, particularly with Scourge's head. This does look much more like a proper aircraft. Makes more sense as well, and it does also retain a little bit of the hairdryer, as I say, and Scourge's head at the back. As you can see, they've modified the back a bit to produce effectively the three jet engines. Now the G1 version, or rather the Generations version of Scourge, does come with a weapon. It's not Fracas from the Target Master days. Actually, that should be like that. But it bears a not too dissimilar appearance to it. There isn't anywhere to attach it that I can see on the alt mode. Well, not that I can see, there isn't anywhere to attach it on the alt mode, so you do have to keep it separately to the alt mode. As I said, that's true of most weapons for Transformers, so it's not a problem. So in terms of transforming Scourge, you've got two little wheels here, which is quite a nice little touch. It should say the details on the inside and not the outside. But nevertheless, it's still a nice little touch for the plane. It gives you somewhere to land it on, so it's not resting on these downward parts as well. So they just flip in like that. Excuse me. So the whole plane kind of comes apart, and it helps if you think of the geometry of it. These are his feet, and this is obviously the head, and these are the arms. So that's kind of what you need to be thinking of. So to begin with, break those apart, the wings like that. The feet will then pop down like this. We're just going to get them out of the way to begin with, to start the break-up of the toy. Bring the arms up like that. This part all kind of slots apart like this. That kind of slots like that. The waist does need to swivel round, so in order to do that we need to get the head up like so. This whole chest panel here slides up into place, and you can see it reveals the waist as well, or the stomach area as well, which lets you then rotate the legs around. So now that we've done that simple breakaway, we can now start to move ahead with it. So these are the feet. They do flip out like that to provide a fairly solid anchoring, and again on this side as well. So this part kind of becomes the leg, and then you've got the feet there. So at the moment, Scourge is kind of pile driver arms. We're just going to leave those as they are for the moment, because we need to deal with the wings. So they just literally flip up and round. So you're aiming to fit this through that. There is quite a lot of fiddly movement here. Actually, you're not able to feel it through that at all. I'm talking rubbish. That just rotates and slots nicely in the back there. Okay, and then you're onto the wings. I'm not convinced actually that is what should happen there. You kind of want the wings this colour. Bear with me a second. So I guess it depends on how you want the wings really for Scourge. Do you like them like that, or do you like them the other way around? I tend to prefer them like that, but you will flip as well, and kind of everything will slot away. I think, however, I'm going to have the wings this way round, because I think it looks slightly better. He says. Okay, it's all going to be. It is a bit fiddly with the back of Scourge, and the wings are all particularly fiddly as well. So what we've done. One thing I probably should have done before we start fiddling around with that is this just flips out the way. So it just flips up and rotates out the way like that, and there we are. And that now sits slightly on. You can see it all goes flush as well, so that is the right way of doing it, and I probably should have done that earlier. It would have made life a lot easier. Okay, so the arms. it all breaks apart like so. Now Scourge's arms are a little bit tricky as well. Not that any of this is stuff that I've been doing good. They see little bit here, flips out, and that produces a hand. So now you've got the hand. You kind of, these need to flip over because these become kind of his shoulders. You then do need to flip all these bits around here because you can see this bit is the front. So what you need to end up with is it kind of the opposite way to it actually is. The arms do come out a bit on them actually like that, but we need to rotate it all. Not as easy as it looks, not that any of it looked particularly easy. So while we're figuring that out, we're just going to begin with by flipping this arm open too. Yes, of course, these do open fully. I'd forgotten that. So, I don't know if you saw that. So you see there's the white bit here, these do pop out like so. So we can now have this bit here, and then that flips like that, then it pops back in, so that is flush, so that's popped back in, and then you've got the arm like that. So now that we know what we're looking for, we can do the same on this one. So flip that out, so this stays as it is, rotate that down, this then slots into there. Simple really. I don't know why that caused any problem at all, he says. Okay, and there we have Scourge. Now, in terms of weapons, I say there we have Scourge. We need to make sure that his arms are, his legs are fully out. His legs do have a tendency to splay a bit. That's perhaps my criticism of it. And his head then droops a bit too. So, in terms of weapons, he can either retain, he's got actually quite a good choice of weapons. He can take the weapons like that, you can have that extended as the gun there to make quite a big looking gun. It even pops off and breaks into two to produce two weapons, which this one looking somewhat like Fracas from the Target Master days. So I'm going to give him the two weapons, give Scourge a little bit of his dignity back. And these just slot into the hands. Now, because he's a little bit, just a second, this one's the weapons being a little bit more tricky to go in. There we go. It's quite a tight slot. Now, because Scourge has a tendency to splay over, we're just going to do the zoom in here. Face, in particular, bears a lot of discussion because that's pretty much identical to the G1 release, the cartoon. The eyes they don't light up, but they do reflect the light that comes through, so they're kind of glowing effect. But the face is particularly impressive. The head, they modelled that perfectly on the cartoon, and as is the chest. I mean, to be honest, the entire body of Scourge, even with the wings, looks very, very similar to the cartoon design. I am really impressed with that. The head does has good range of movement, as you can see. Obviously the arms do as well, and so do the legs. The one problem with the legs is they're not that stable. Bearing in mind, obviously, the Generations release, it's now getting on for, it's not that far off, 10 years. Oh, his leg popped off. That's okay, it's a balled joint, so it just pops back on. I'm sure this happens to everybody, I hope. Maybe not when they're on camera. I'm just going to move the arm and guns down a bit. And of course, when you touch him, everything starts to not unravel as such, but everything starts to move. He's very much a pose and leave alone kind of transformer. The more you fiddle with him, the more the joints start to move, which I suppose is good in a way. It means that they're not tight or stiff joints, but it does make it very difficult if you actually want to get him in a pose, because he's very flexible, but actually keeping him in that pose is a little bit more trickier. So bear in mind this is about a 10 or so year figure. It's really impressive the amount of flexibility there. It's obviously he's not a masterpiece scale, but the detailing isn't that far off, particularly, as I say, around the actual figure itself. It's a really impressive detail. Transformation, as I easily demonstrated, isn't the easiest one there. I think it could have been made a bit easier, mainly because a lot of the pieces, they don't always slot into place. They kind of have to be positioned there and left, and then they start to unravel a bit. So he scales incredibly well with Galvatron. This is the Unique Toys Mania King version of Galvatron. It feels like the right height. Scourge doesn't seem massively dwarfed by Galvatron, but he is smaller, and that feels right. And actually, the colour scheme goes really well together. And we compare him to Hot Rod, so the original G1 version of Hot Rod, which Scourge would have been released against. And again, it's the kind of right sort of scale. He's a bit shorter, he's a little bit thinner, but the detailing is good, and it doesn't feel out of place. So I'm really impressed with how well this scales with other figures as well. I say the robot mode is really impressive on this version of Scourge. It looks like him. It's probably the only decent version of Scourge that I've seen released. Obviously the Titan's Return version may trump that, but that hasn't yet been released in the UK. It will be shortly, and as soon as I can get hold of one, we'll do a review of him. But up to this point, this is by far the best version of Scourge. Okay, it's not a hovercraft, it's a stealth bomber, but that kind of works as well, and the hovercraft was a good idea. It just looked a bit odd, whereas the stealth bomber does feel good, and the robot mode is brilliant. There's no other word to describe it really. It really feels like it's not got compromises. It looks fantastic. As I've shown, the joints are a little bit tricky to keep in place as they tend to slide out. Transformation is a bit tricky, but you know what, you can deal with that. And let's face it, most of us will keep Scourge in his robot mode, because that's where he looks great for that. The next review we'll do Cyclonus, and then we'll look at Cyclonus, Scourge and Galvatron together. So thank you very much for watching. Please leave any comments below, click on the other links, subscribe to the whole set of videos, and I'll see you on the next review. Thank you, goodbye.